Good afternoon, everyone. Today we're going to deal with the topic from unit number 2, that is minutes of the meeting. Uh, I hope you remember that I had told you that it is a three-part thing, meeting or meetings in organizations. It's a three phase thing. The first phase is writing the agenda. We have done the agenda writing. Then you have to conduct the meeting itself, and then you have to go for the minutes of the meeting. Right, so what are minutes? Minutes are actually written records of what the meeting was all about and how did the meeting go. Whatever kind of meeting it is, this documentation, that is the agenda as well as the minutes, they are an important part of any organization, be it a small meeting, be it a big meeting, whatever kind of a meeting it is. Agendas are inevitable parts of any meeting. Now, when the meeting is actually going on, when people are actually participating in meetings, what do is they take down notes, and then after the meeting gets over, the agenda is drafted in the format. Usually there is a similar kind of format for every organization. Few things change, but the rest remains the same. And this is also a systematic document that is maintained by every organization. So there is a structure and a format to it. It is also noted, we should note that at the start of every meeting, the minutes of the meeting of the previous meeting are signed, read out, and then they are filed. Now, why do we have the minutes? There might be sometimes this minutes are maintained because they are an official record of work that has to be done, and work that has been assigned to somebody. Okay, it's an official record of it. Moreover, minutes of the meeting also include the views and conclusions of all the participants, which are also known as resolutions. You take a new year resolution, something like that. Now, who writes the minutes of the meeting? Usually the person who has called the meeting would assign someone to write the minutes of the meeting, or it would be the secretary who writes the minutes of the meeting. Either there is somebody who is assigned to write the minutes of the meeting, or the chairperson's secretary is the one who drafts the minutes of the meeting. Now, as I said, this is a three-phase process. So initially when you want to hold a meeting, you should write the agenda, and after the meeting gets over, you are supposed to draft the minutes. Remember, from the word itself, English, you can understand the meaning of the documents from the word in which it is written, the name that has been given to the document. So what is the name given over here to the document? The name given over here is minutes. Minutes mean each and every single small information that has been discussed in the meeting has to be present in the minutes. Right? That's why if you see the title says it is minutes of the meeting, not a summary of the meeting, or not any other word being used. Right? The word that has been used is the minutes. Fine. So that is why, remember, here you are supposed to note down each and every single detail, word by word, minute by minute. Right? And it is usually taken note of after the meeting gets over. So is a reconnecting question that we have. The minutes of the meeting are written after the meeting takes place. Is the statement true or false? You may type your answers in the chat box. Yes, you are absolutely correct. What we write before is called the agenda, and what we write after the meeting is known as the minutes. The answer was absolutely correct. So, what's the definition? Please mark this as an important question from the exam point of view. What is the definition? The definition is minutes. Meeting minutes or minutes of the meeting can be defined as the written or the recorded documentation that is used to inform people of what happened during the meeting and define the next step that is planned. It is meant for future reference. Why so? So that people can refer to and see what kind of decisions were taken, what decisions worked, what kind of decisions did not work. Okay, they are meant for future reference when there are times when you have to take a decision in the future. This is when the minutes of the meeting would come into consideration or will come handy to the person. Next, usually, as I told you in the very beginning, that the minutes of the meeting of a previous meeting would be read in the next meeting, right? Before the next meeting officially commences, there would be a space and a scope for reading the minutes of the previous meeting so that people who were not present in the previous meeting have an idea about it and can work on it. Right? If they're absent, they should know because they are an important part of the organization. They should know what decisions were taken in their absence. That is how usually organizations do work. It is absolutely necessary to inform the other person of the decisions that have been taken during someone's absence. They're always written in reported speech and they are quite formal. Usually, the format is a point wise format with a topic heading. So, is the statement true or false? Minutes of the meeting is always written in reported speech form. You may type your answers in the chat box. A few correct and a few incorrect. The statement is true. Why is it true? I'll tell you the reason. Because it is written after the meeting takes place. That's why, remember, I had told that minutes are written in reported speech form, just one PPT ahead. If you see over here, point number 2 states that minutes of the meeting are always written in reported speech form. Please keep a note of such small things. So, the essentials of a minutes of a meeting, what are the things that you should have? There is no fixed format in a minutes of the meeting for each organization. Then can be something which is done differently and certain things that are common. So usually the minutes of the meeting begins with the letterhead of the organization. You should know whose minutes of the meeting are you reading, right? Begins with the letterhead. Then it moves ahead with the name of the organization and the nature of the meeting. By nature, we mean, is it an annual meeting? Is it a monthly meeting, weekly meeting, fortnightly meeting? What kind of a meeting it is? and then it would be followed by the day, the date, time, and the place of the meeting. Now remember, even in letter writing, we have been telling that you are supposed to write the date full and not in figures. Now next, the name of the chairman. Here chairman means the person who has called the meeting and the members that were present in the meeting. You may also include the name of the people in attendance, like the secretary, the auditor, or other people who are present over there. The record of the confirmation of the previous meetings, reading and approval and signature takes place. Then appointment. Appointment over here, we mean to say if somebody is been assigned a specific work. Somebody is assigned some specific work, it should be mentioned over here, so that for record purpose and for future reference purpose. For record purpose and for future reference purpose, you can see, okay, who was assigned this work when you need to have, or when you have the need to take a follow-up. This is when it will come into help. At the end, there should be space for writing the date and signing it. There should be space for writing the date and for signature of the people who have attended the meeting. It should be there, right? It's like, as I told you, a letter is authenticated only and only when you sign it. Similarly, the minutes of the meeting become authentic when only and only when they are signed, right? Signature portion is really, really important. You cannot avoid the signature portion. Next, okay, we have a reconnecting question over here. At the end, there should not be space for date and requirement signature. Is the statement true or false? Excellent, excellent. The answer is correct, right? There should be a space for signature and requirement of signature and date, right? Sample of a minutes of the meeting. Let's look at a sample. This is a sample of a sales meeting. If you see, there is a title which is given. Then you have got the date, the time, the venue, the meeting agenda in bullet points. And then see, there is a line which says, apart from the said agenda, the meeting would welcome further insights, queries, and creative suggestions. Now, why do we write this line? This line is very, very important. You have to write it in every meeting agenda. Why? Because sometimes there are certain things that come all of a sudden, right? Now, this is page number 2. There you have an attendance sheet where you again it would be very nice if you draw a table and in a tabular manner, so that it is easier to grasp information. And then the actual minutes of the meeting start. This is actually the common structure that each and every organization will follow. This is actually the common structure which is followed by each and every organization for drafting minutes of the meeting. Right after that, in the actual meeting, you will see the topic discussed and the task assigned. As I said, you have to assign somebody some task, right? Now I will forget. Usually people have this habit of forgetting that who was assigned which task. So how do I know? You can come to know from the minutes of the meeting that which task was assigned to whom, right? When you have to take, when there is a need to take follow-ups, when there is a need to take follow-ups, you have to look into these things and try and find out who was assigned the work, whom are we going to ask whether the work is completed or not. At that time, this minutes of the meeting would come handy. So with this, we complete minutes of the meeting. Do we have any question and answers? Do we have any queries? Okay, if If no, then we can move on to our quiz section. Just give me a moment. I'll copy paste the link of the quiz here. There you go. This is the quiz link for this topic and section. You may start attempting your quiz now. can see all of you have completed this quiz. We still have time, so we'll be covering one more topic today, which is called resume writing. Kindly pay attention over here because it carries mark. You have 10 marks for writing your resume. It's a assignment as well. So what is a resume? Resume is actually the document that helps you gain a personal interview chance. Remember, there are many words which seem similar, like resume, biodata. Do not interchange the two. It depends on for what purpose you are doing. If the purpose is employment, then it is called a resume. If the purpose is matrimony, then it is called a biodata. Right? You never get a second chance to create a first impression, and your resume is one of the first impressions that you will make with your potential employer. That's why it is very important to look into how resumes are written. It is, why do you need a resume? The reason, the purpose of requirement of a resume is it is a marketing tool. It helps you obtain an interview which can result into getting a job, and many organizations have this duty of doing resume or having resume. The elements of resume writing, what are the elements? First thing, please see, this is the order in which you should write your resume. What should be included? Your name, your permanent address, email, contact number, website, and birth date if required. Why here I have written if required? Because certain government organizations have age limits. Where should this information go? It should go to the top of the page. Here's a sample. You can see it is one of the samples. There are many such samples which are available, and you can use any format of your choice. But this information has to be there. It's a must-have information in your resume. Next, the career or the professional objectives. Objectives are what do you aim to do in your professional life or in the professional world, is what people wish to know from you. That is the reason you should write your objectives over here. When you write the objective, you try to tell them, this is what I want to do, this is what I aim for, your aim, right? Kindly do not use pronouns like I, me, we, etc. It should be having a statement which is focused, and it should also be aligned with the job uh, role that you are going to play, for which you are applying. Let's say here you can see the objective is to obtain an entry level human resources position. So which one of the following is not included in personal information out of the options given? Out of the options that are given, which one you should not be including in your personal information? Gender, exactly, you are all correct. Gender is what you don't include, right? The correct answer is gender. Next, educational qualification. In educational qualification, please remember you are supposed to write information in the reverse chronology. What do I mean by reverse chronology? Reverse chronology means the latest degree first. That is, right now, if you are preparing your resume, you should write uh, BE electrical or bachelor's of electrical engineering first, semester 3, and then 10th, 12th, and other results that you have. If you are doing or if you have done a diploma, then it should come in that order only, right? You have to write the name of the organization from where you have taken the degree. And you are also supposed to include the specializations if you have taken any specialization. Here's an example. Do not worry, I'll be also uploading this PPT for your reference. Now, work experience. Work experience in case that you are a person who has worked for some time and is changing the job. In case you are a fresher, what kind of experience do you carry in your field? That is, you have worked in some project, you have worked in some competition, you have had a chance to display your specialization somewhere, right? That you can mention over here. The information that you should also mention is what kind of role did you play there, where you were team leader or you were a team member, etc. is what you can mention over here, right? Please use bullet points. Past tense if you are talking about a past experience, and present tense if you are currently using or doing that work. Please be clear and concise, but yet also provide enough detail. Remember, every job requirement is different, so you cannot use the same resume for each interview that you give. For each interview, you need to tailor your resume accordingly. For each interview, you would need to tailor your resume accordingly. You cannot use the same resume for each and every interview you get. So that you need to highlight the skills that you are required for a particular position for which you are applying. Here's an example. You can have a look at the example. Achievement and honors. Here again, the achievement and honors should be written in reverse chronological order. So the most recent one first, and then the rest, followed by the rest. These are all kind of achievements that you made at national level and state level. Remember here, whatever achievements you write, okay, whatever achievements you write, you should be able to prove them. Whatever achievements you write, you should be able to prove them. How do you prove? If you have done something on national level, state level, city level, they'll provide you with a certification, right? Please do not write something which you cannot prove over here. The activities that you have done should have a valid proof. You are also supposed to mention if you are members of different professional bodies, different organizations. In your work experience, you can also mention internships if you have done any. Please remember, do not use acronyms or abbreviations. You have to write the name of the organizations in full. Now you can have a look at this sample which is completed. Nowadays, what has happened is the trend of having long, lengthy resumes has been worn out. Now you don't have a trend of having long and lengthy resumes. What you have is you have short, simple, and concise resumes, so that things whatever you are telling, people don't have to go through a lot of pages. People just go through a few pages and then they can decide upon whether you are the correct candidate for their organization or not. Remember, always remember over here, because things have to be concise, try to highlight the most important things first and then move downwards in the line. I hope you have taken a good look at the sample that has been provided. Now, is the statement true or false? If you have been paying attention, you'll be able to answer this very easily. In the educational qualification, most recent degree is listed last. Is the statement true or false? one correct answer and one wrong answer. The statement is not true, it is false. Why is it false? As I said, reverse chronology, not last but first. The most recent degree should come first. Right? Congratulations to the person who gave the correct answer on this one. Then there is a section which is known as the reference section. You should mention the references after taking permission from the references. Okay, you cannot just write anybody's name as a reference. You need to take the person's permission, inform the person that I'm including your name in the reference. Why are references important? References are important there because before taking or before asking somebody to join your organization, people would always want to go and look back and have an idea how the person behaved in the previous organization. References, you should include the person's name, designation, contact address, telephone, and email address. These are the things that you should mention in the reference section. Do's in the resume: use action words, use short, concise sentences, bullet points. As I said, people are not interested in looking at lengthy resumes. They want to just see the skills that you have. They want you to have highlighted skills in your resume. So keep the resume easy to read. And as I have mentioned, and I have been telling and repeating twice and thrice, that you have to look into things in a way where you have to look at things and you have to highlight the qualities that are more important for one particular kind of a job. Okay, you cannot use the same resume. You always have to make a little changes in whatever resume you have prepared. You cannot use the same resume for every job interview that you apply for. Why so? Because the requirement for every job interview would be different. The requirement for every kind of a post or position would be different. And this difference in post and position would require a different set of skills. Right? You cannot have the same set of skills for every position that you apply for. All right. So please remember, that is why it is important that you keep the resume in such a way which highlights your best points or your best qualities. And you cannot have a resume that highlights some other skills that are not required. Don'ts: please do not use pronouns such as I, me, my, etc. Kindly make your resume quite objective in nature. Do not overload your resume with different kinds of information. Just write what is essential and what is necessary. Do not include personal information like your height, your weight, or your marital status. Requirement of photograph: if it is there, you may include a photograph. If the photograph is not required, then you do not use the same. Now, usually a resume is accompanied by a cover letter. A cover letter is actually a chance for you to convince your potential employer why are you the best choice for that particular company. And you understand the role that you are going to play when you join a particular company. That is why you require a cover letter. Now, when does a cover letter come into hand? It comes into hand when you have been applying for a job uh, by taking help of the various resources that are available, like the newspaper, the media. So you have to mention in your resume where did you come to know about the job vacancy from, right? It is a kind of a reference that you develop with the person. The next thing that you should look into is in the cover letter you should never mention that to whomsoever it may concern. Don't do that. The cover letter is written. The cover letter is written just like the other letters that we write, and should be aligned to the left. You have to use the address of the receiver, the sender, the date, etc. All things remain the same. What changes is the changes that you have in the main body, right? What are the main body should be covered in the main body? You should be covering, it should have at least 3 paragraphs. Paragraph number 1, you are supposed to mention from where did you find out about this job vacancy, as I said. Paragraph number 2, you are supposed to highlight the set of skills that you possess and which are really important for the job for which you are applying, or for the position for which you are applying. Then in the third paragraph or the last paragraph, it is like the concluding paragraph where you conclude. You do not introduce anything new. You try to take one last chance and attempt and tell the person why are you the best candidate for the position for which there is an opening in the company. All right, this is how you write a cover letter. Remember, this is very important. In a cover letter, you will always have an enclosure. What is an enclosure in the cover letter? Enclosure is what you add along with the cover letter. So what is it that you will add over here? You will have to add your resume. You will have to add your resume, right? So never forget, in a cover letter you have to compulsorily write enclosures. Enclosures are materials that you add along with the cover, along with the letter, what you join along with the letter. I'm sorry. One more reconnector we have. A cover letter should include at least dash paragraphs, 1, 2 or 3, 1, 2, 3 or 4. You may type your answer in the chat box. How many paragraphs should be there? At least how many? Please remember information. I said at least. Let me go back. At least 3 paragraphs. The answer for this question is 3 paragraphs. This is a sample of a cover letter. You can have a look at it. I'll also upload a sample of a cover letter in our Google Shared folder. Kindly look at it. Right now, we have a quiz for this. Just give me a moment. I'll share with you the link of the quiz for this topic. There you go. This is the link for today's quiz. Kindly attempt the quiz now. Excellent. I can see everybody has completed the resume, the quiz for the resume. Now, please remember, this is an assignment. You are supposed to prepare your resume and send it to me by next week. You're supposed to prepare your resume and send it to me by next lecture. With this, we have completed unit number 2, and in the next session, we will have our unit test. Unit 2 test will be there in the next session. I hope you are working with the Coursera course and you would have completed the Coursera course by now. Kindly submit the certificates via email or by sharing it in the Google folder by the 25th of this month. Fine. So, two things. One, you are supposed to prepare your resume and send it to me. Two, you are supposed to send the certificate of the Coursera course that you have been attempting and send it to me by next week. And 3, we have a unit test in the next week, right? With I have taken the attendance while you were attempting your quiz. I've already taken the attendance, so don't worry about the attendance part. So with this, we will call it a day. Thank you, class. Have a nice day. Thank you.